Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. It looks like we're looking at the last of Us. That was a very awkward sentence. Yeah. So it looks like The Last of Us is going to wrap up after season 3. They were going to do 4 or 5 seasons, but yeah, they're going to call it a day because what are they going to base it on, right? They don't even know if they're going to do another game, and season 2 was not well received. Can't imagine why, because they followed the game, The Last of Us Part 2, and people hated it, and they also added more cringe to it. So yeah, this show's over, man. It's done. They think one more season, and that is it. So let's talk about that. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, hey, check out Crimson Wren out on Kickstarter. We're giving you another opportunity to pick up the Crimson Wren hardcover, and we also have a whole bunch of new goodies. So including some D20 trading cards and prints, and check it out on Kickstarter for a very limited time. So you better hurry. Let's talk about another limited time offering. That would be The Last of Us. So let's just walk it back a little bit. Season 2 did not do well. Season 2 was based on the game, and they did the thing. They did the thing with the golf club that pissed everybody off, but also Pedro Pascal. I think people had Pedro Pascal fatigue. So, but the show after that happened, it just stumbled and, sputtered out. Even it was a Freudian slip. It putted out. I just caught myself. Man, I don't know. It's Saturday morning. I'm just like, I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, so even the hardcore fans on Reddit are like, what the hell is up with this show? I'm like, and I remember all the backlash, right? When this came out, people were so upset about Joel. Spoiler, the game's been out for several years, but Joel gets whacked brutally. And I thought they would, I'm going to be honest, I thought they would deviate from the source material. I thought they would actually fix something that was very wrong with the game that really turned a lot of players off and be like, you know what, we're getting a do-over. Let's just take this in a different direction for the TV show. I mean, they've done it before. They did it with The Walking Dead. Sometimes you make changes for a different audience, but that casual audience, man, they were hit upside the head, just like Joel, with that scene. And they didn't like it because they're like, wait, Joel's the main character. You just killed him off at the beginning of season 2. What the hell's wrong with you? Yeah, they didn't play the game. And it resonated with normies worse, I would say, than it did with gamers, because gamers are used to these kind of plot twists and stuff. And, there's a difference between games and movies. And the gamers hated it too. And then Neil Druckmann is dipping out after season 2, I guess, because of because of the reception. And people don't like his vision. And I always get him confused with Jared Leto. Like, I see him and he looks like Jared Leto. Like, him and Jared Leto could be twins. But he definitely thinks he's all that, right? And he thinks he knows better than the audience, and the audience has rejected his ideas twice. Like, clearly, a normie television audience and a video game audience hated your fucking story. Maybe it's a you problem. It wasn't that, because he's probably thinking, well, it's just those stupid gamers. Once I go to elevated television on HBO, they'll all love me. No, they didn't love you over there. They didn't love it either. And so I think he rage quit. I think he rage quit The Last of Us because he's like, they don't see my vision. So now they're going to have a different creative team for what is going to be probably the last season. And, this is just a disaster, right? I mean, just like the game series, it's a disaster. So this is coming from Nerdist. It appears The Last of Us Season 3 is going to be the final one. How far will HBO's The Last of Us adaptation go beyond the source material of the original 2 video games? Not far from the sound of things. In an extensive interview with Deadline, the head of HBO programming, Casey Bloys, has suggested that the upcoming 3rd season will indeed be the last. When asked if the 3rd season of The Last of Us, along with the next season of Hacks, would indeed be the end of each show, he said, it certainly seems that way, but on decisions like that, we will defer to the showrunners. You can ask them. It's not about the showrunners. It's about the audience dropping off a cliff, backlash. There's no future for this show. And again, you've run out of game to adapt, and the second game was wildly unpopular. You had a golden opportunity. That's what blows my mind. Again, look at The Walking Dead. And we could argue which is better, the TV show or the comic. I personally think the comic, but that's just me. But they deviated wildly from the comic book and took it in a totally different direction. And they could have done that with The Last of Us. They could have actually turned it into, a 5 or 6 season show, kept Joel alive, or at least if they killed him, done it in a different way. And I think I don't know, it might have worked better. And just realize they're two different mediums. And people ask you, like, why'd you change the storyline from the game? You don't have to throw yourself under the bus. You don't have to admit you're wrong. Just be like, well, it's two different mediums, right? So, there's a difference between playing a video game and watching a TV show, an elevated TV show on HBO. Yeah, that's what you do. And you had a chance. You could probably let this thing go for a couple of years more, but no. Yeah, the Druckmann all over it. They said this is a very different tune from the one they sang last year. This came from Nerdist, guys. This isn't some alt-right rag. This is the Nerdist. About this time last year, HBO was saying The Last of Us would run for at least 4 seasons. In an interview last year, HBO's Francesca Orsi said, we don't have a complete or final plan, but I think it's looking like 4 seasons. I wouldn't want to confirm that, but it's looking like this season, then 2 more seasons after this, and we're done. However, since then, there has been creative upheaval behind the scenes of The Last of Us. In September, Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann announced he's leaving The Last of Us before work begins on the 3rd season. This might be where plans change. He said he's not even sure he's going to bother with The Last of Us Part 3. I think most people, their headcanon, they're not even going to bother with The Last of Us Part 2. It's like, dude, you got lucky. You had one good game, one beloved game, and then you Druckmanned all over it. Last of Us remains a massive hit for HBO, both critically and with viewers. But it's also an expensive series to produce. That is true. Along the lines of the Game of Thrones spinoff, which apparently they're wrapping that one up too. They're wrapping up House of the Dragon too. I think it's just all the stuff is costing too much. Now, here's another potential issue. It could be because, Warner Brothers is getting sold. HBO is getting sold. We don't know who is buying it yet. Most likely Netflix, but we don't know after they got grilled by the feds. But the new owners may not want this, and they might be trying to tie as many things off as they can. So at least there's an ending, right? I mean, that's the thing. You at least want to have an ending. And then you can always do, Ellie as a dad as a spinoff later. My dad, Ellie. They said, yeah, especially with the total absence of Pedro Pascal as Joel of season 3 can end in a successful way. Big if, they might not want to overstay their welcome. Whatever the decision is, we expect HBO to announce plans for The Last of Us before too long. Yeah, and they're not even going to start filming it until this fall, I guess. But this is coming from the Last of Us subreddit. This is Reddit. Reddit loves this shit, right? But they said that the Nielsen's dropped off a cliff in episode 4 of season 2. That was the moment I stopped watching. It just didn't hit. Ellie was going to be a dad. Yeah. It wasn't that. Ellie was a corny jokester when there's a time and place, but they replaced a very pivotal reveal scene and made it look like a sitcom. Yeah, there's so many things that the shit they changed and the way that they changed it, it was, yeah. It was like, compare the 2 scenes of Ellie, and yeah, it was like, yeah, now's not a good time to be pregnant. It's like, oh my God, guys, I'm gonna be a dad. Undead Walking has TV's best zombie series won't survive past season 3. At least it's like, I mean, again, to go back to The Walking Dead, I mean, how many years has The Walking Dead been on? Like 48 years now. It's been on since like the 1970s or something. The show's been on forever. And it's like, how many zombie shows do we actually need? I don't know. Yeah, so they're not happy about it. Speaking of Reddit, they're not happy about it. I love this headline. HBO's The Last of Us is reportedly shutting down after season 3 because the backlash to season 2 tanked it. T-Lou Part 3 is expected to do even worse and flop since nobody's really interested in buying it. Fuck ND, Naughty Dog, fuck HBO, and fuck Cuckman. Wow. Tell us how you really feel there, Redditor. Tell us how you really feel. From a television standpoint, you killed the star, and they expected the barely functioning supporting star to keep the show rolling. That literally never works. You cannot just replace your star with another and expect it to work out. Shows always tank in the ratings if you kill the primary reason everyone tunes in. And if you have the joke of an actor that is Bella, wow, you can't even afford to keep supporting the show after a certain point. This is crazy. Okay, so again, this is coming from Reddit, right? Reddit, which is pretty far left, and Reddit, which, if I remember correctly, they were going after the alt-right chuds for making fun of Bella Ramsey because she doesn't look anything like video game Ellie. And but I think that whole "I'm going to be a dad" scene broke everyone. Like, what the fuck is going on here? But also remember, a lot of people tuned in for Pedro Pascal, who was the hotness at the time before people realized what a doofus he actually is. But there were a lot of people, a lot of like Pedro stans that tuned in, and then you brutally murdered him, right at the beginning of season 2. Like, that was the dumbest shit you could have done. You had a hit, you had a good thing going. You don't have to follow the game exactly. Actually, I kind of wonder if Druckmann wasn't involved, would HBO taken a look at and been like, you know what? People are watching for Pedro. Love him or hate him, they're watching for Pedro. Let's take this in a different direction. That might have been the way to go. If you're going to kill him off at the end of the series. I thought for sure they were going to kind of rearrange things and kill him at the end of season 2 instead of at the beginning. Because they were talking, they were going to make some changes or whatever. And I'm like, okay, it would make more sense to kill him at the end of season 2 than at the very beginning of season 2. So, yeah, that's the very, very unpopular decision. People are very pissed about it. And again, normies were not paying attention to what happened with the game, or they would have seen this coming. I was shocked they did it. But that's it, man. They're just like, now they're talking, they're replacing actors too, because they're jumping shit. It's like, the show is dead. The show is dead. Just wrap it up with like 6 episodes and just be like, yep, whatever, we're done. We're done. And again, you had a good thing going and you couldn't help yourselves. You just couldn't help yourselves. I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Again, check out the Crimson Ren reoffer out on Kickstarter, and we will talk to you guys later.